Every holiday, my husband's parents would take control of our plans. They'd say, "You'll celebrate with us or not at all." My husband, Ethan, would just sigh and tell me, "Just go along with it." One day, I smiled and said, "Sure. But first, let's watch this video together." When the screen turned on, their smug faces changed to shock and fear. For the first few years of our marriage, Ethan's parents, especially his mom, Carol, took over every holiday. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, even the 4th of July. Before each one, I'd hold my breath, waiting for her call. And it always came. She never asked what our plans were. She'd just tell us where to be, what time to come, and even what to bring. It was always the same line. "You'll celebrate with us or not at all." If I suggested something different, she acted like I was crazy. "Why would you do that when we've already planned everything?" she'd say, pretending to be polite. The first year, I thought it was just a one-time thing. The second year, I saw the pattern. By the third year, I was frustrated. By the fourth, I was angry. What made it worse? Ethan never stood up for me. Whenever I talked about it, he'd just say, "It's not worth the fight." Not worth the fight? Not worth missing time with my own family? Not worth feeling like a guest in my own life? Not worth being ignored and disrespected for years? I stayed quiet too long. But last Thanksgiving, I'd had enough. A few weeks before Thanksgiving, Carol called me. "I've planned the whole menu," she said cheerfully. "I know you like to help, so you can bring the rolls." Store-bought rolls. That's all she let me bring. Like I was some stranger. I took a breath and said, "Actually, Ethan and I were thinking of doing Thanksgiving on our own this year." Silence. Then she laughed. "Oh, sweetie, don't be silly. You're coming here." I looked at Ethan, hoping he'd support me. But he just sighed. "Babe, just go along with it." That was the last straw. I smiled. "Sure," I said. "But first, let's watch this video together." A week before Thanksgiving, I invited Carol and her husband Greg over for dinner. They showed up happy, thinking I'd given in. Instead of dinner, I turned on the TV. I've been saving video clips for years. It started with Carol being controlling, snapping at me about how I made mashed potatoes. Greg saying, "Wives should be seen and not heard." Then it got worse. A clip of Carol snooping through our bedroom, caught on our security camera. Greg making racist remarks at Easter. Carol mocking Ethan behind his back, calling him spineless. And the final clip, a recording from the night before our wedding. Carol didn't know my car recorded audio, but it caught her saying, "I give it 6 months. He'll divorce her and find a proper wife." Silence. Carol looked like she'd seen a ghost. Greg's jaw dropped. Ethan looked stunned. Carol asked, "Where did you get this?" I just smiled. You know me, always prepared. Ethan finally asked, "Why didn't you show me this before?" I tilted my head. "Would you have believed me?" He didn't answer. Carol said, "You have to delete that." I smiled again. "Oh, Carol, don't be silly. I've backed it up." Now she was panicking. Greg looked at Ethan and said, "Son, you need to handle this." But Ethan just stared at the screen, like he finally saw who his parents really were. Carol said, "You won't do anything rash, will you?" I leaned in and said, "Of course not. But from now on, we'll celebrate holidays however we want. And if you try to guilt trip us or go through our things again," I held up my phone. "I might feel generous and share this with the whole family group chat." Carol's face twisted with anger and fear. Greg looked completely defeated. They left without saying another word. Ethan sat in silence for a while. Then he finally said, "Holy sh*." I shrugged. "Now do you understand why I was upset?" He nodded. "Yeah, I do." For the first time, he stood up to them. For the first time, I felt free. But I knew it wasn't over. Carol wasn't the type to give up easily. They left quietly that night, but I didn't think that would be the end of it. I was right. For 5 days, we heard nothing. I started to wonder if they had finally accepted they were wrong. I should have known better. On the 6th night, Ethan's phone started buzzing. Again and again. At first, he ignored it. Then he sat up, grabbed his phone, and stared at the screen. His face changed. "What the hell?" he muttered. I sat up too. "What is it?" He didn't answer. I took the phone. The family group chat was blowing up. Aunts, uncles, cousins were messaging nonstop. "Did you see what Carol posted?" "OMG, Ethan, what's going on?" You should be ashamed. I scrolled up. At the top was a dramatic Facebook post from Carol. It started sweet. Family means everything to me. I've always tried to bring people together. Then it turned nasty. But sometimes people change. They let toxic people in. They become cruel. Then the attack. My son has been taken from me. Brainwashed. Controlled. I am heartbroken. She blamed me. Said I turned Ethan against her. Said I was a manipulator. That I planned this all along. The ending hit hard. A real mother never stops loving her son. I hope one day he sees the truth. The comments were full of sympathy. I'm so sorry, Carol. You don't deserve this. Stay strong. He'll come back to you. The worst part? Some of Ethan's relatives believed her. Not all of them, but enough. I scrolled through the messages, feeling disgusted, and saw replies from his Aunt Margaret, cousin Josh, and even his brother Ryan, his own brother. Seriously? You're cutting off your parents? Over what? They love you, man. Think about this. I clenched my fists. She's turning the tables, I muttered, making herself the victim. Ethan's face went pale. He looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. I don't get it, he whispered. I understood. Carol had lost control of him in private, so now she was trying to control him in public. And the worst part, it was working. I put his phone down and grabbed mine. I had learned that in situations like this, staying quiet was the best move. If I defended myself or tried to explain, I'd just give Carol more power. So I said nothing. But Ethan couldn't stay quiet. That morning he called his mom. She picked up right away, fake tears already in her voice. Ethan, sweetheart, I knew you'd come around. I knew you'd realize how much you're hurting this family. Ethan took a deep breath. Mom, take the post down. There was silence, then a small laugh. Oh, honey, why would I do that? Ethan gripped the phone harder. Because it's a lie. She gasped, actually gasped, like he had slapped her. A lie? Ethan, I've done nothing but love you. And what do I get in return? Humiliation? Betrayal? Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose. Mom, you went through our bedroom. You called my wife controlling. You said you hope I'd divorce her. Carol sniffled dramatically. Oh, so she's feeding you lies now. I know how this works. First, she isolates you. Then she makes you doubt your own mother. Ethan clenched his jaw. I saw the videos, Mom, with my own eyes. Carol was silent for a moment. Then her voice turned cold, all pretense gone. Well, if that's how you feel, she said sharply, then I guess we'll see you at Christmas. Or not at all. She hung up. Ethan stared at the phone, looking like it might bite him. He exhaled. Holy asterisk. I crossed my arms. Now do you see what I've been dealing with? He nodded slowly. For the first time, I saw real anger in his eyes. Not frustration, not helplessness, but pure anger. She's not getting away with this, he muttered. And for the first time in our marriage, I actually believed him. After Carol's dramatic post, Ethan's phone kept buzzing. Messages came pouring in. Some family members demanding explanations. Some defended his mom. Others just wanted drama. At first, Ethan tried responding. This isn't what you think. You don't know the whole story. There are things you haven't seen. Mom isn't the victim here. But it didn't matter. People wanted to believe the lie. And Carol knew it. She had spent years creating her perfect image, the loving mother, the devoted matriarch who only wanted the best for her son. A few days later, Ethan's brother Ryan called. Look, man, Ryan said, his voice tight. I don't know what's going on, but Mom's a wreck. She hasn't eaten in days. She cries all the time. She says you won't even talk to her. Ethan rubbed his face. Ryan, she's playing you. She's fine. You don't know that, Ryan shot back. She's lost weight. She's not sleeping. Dad says she just sits in the dark, waiting for you to come to your senses. I almost laughed. Carol sitting in the dark? So dramatic. Ethan wasn't buying it either. Is she suffering so much, he asked. Why is she still posting on Facebook? Ryan hesitated. She's just trying to explain her side. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. Her side is a bunch of lies, he snapped. Did she tell you she went through our bedroom? Did she tell you she called my wife controlling? Did she tell you she said she hoped I'd get divorced? Ryan went quiet, then finally said, No, of course not. Because Carol only told the version that made her look good. She's your mother, Ethan, Ryan said. Are you really going to throw her away over this? Ethan's face hardened. I'm not throwing her away, he said. She's the one giving me a choice, her way or nothing. Ryan didn't answer. He just sighed and muttered, Think about it, man, then hung up. Ethan stared at his phone. Slowly, he turned to me. I think she's planning something. I crossed my arms. She always is. But neither of us were ready for what happened next. A week later, while Ethan was at work, someone knocked on our door. I checked the peephole and my stomach dropped. It was the police. For a split second, I panicked. Had something happened to Ethan? Was he hurt? I yanked the door open. Ma'am, one of the officers said, we got a call about a possible domestic disturbance at this residence. I blinked. What? The second officer looked at his notes. The caller reported concerns about a woman in distress, possible emotional abuse. My blood ran cold. Carol, it had to be her. I forced myself to stay calm. I think there's been a mistake. The officers exchanged glances. We still have to check, one of them said. Would you mind stepping outside? I did. One officer stayed with me while the other looked around the house. Is your husband home? No, I said, trying to keep it together. Are you okay? I let out a humorless laugh. I'm perfectly fine. The officer gave me a long look. Then he nodded. All right, sorry for the trouble. We had to follow up. They left. The second the door shut, I grabbed my phone. I called Ethan. When he answered, I said, Your mother just sent the cops to our house. Silence. Then very quietly, Ethan said, Tell me everything. Ethan was furious, not just mad. Furious. He'd been trying to keep things peaceful, trying to maintain some relationship with his mom. But now, this was war. That night, Ethan called his mom. She didn't answer, so he texted her. Did you call the police on my wife? The message was read at 9:42 p.m. No response. He waited an hour. Then he called again. This time she picked up. Oh, sweetheart, she sighed. I was just about to call you. Did you send the cops to our house? Silence. Then she gasped, actually gasped. Oh my God, is that what they told you? No, honey, I would never do that. But I did mention to a friend I was worried about you, and maybe she called. But I had no idea. Ethan hung up. No yelling. No arguing. Just hung up. Then he turned to me. She's done. For the first time, he cut her off, blocked her number, blocked her on Facebook, told his family everything. Carol tried everything to get him back. Called from different numbers. Had Greg text, Your mother is sick with worry. Had Ryan send a long message, She's still your mom, man. Ethan didn't budge. Then Carol did the one thing she had left. She showed up at Ethan's office, in tears. Security had to escort her out. That night, she left him a voicemail. Through sobs, she whispered, I hope you're happy, Ethan. You broke your mother's heart. Ethan played the voicemail for me, and I waited for him to react, maybe sigh or look guilty. But instead, he just shook his head. She's never going to stop, he muttered. I put my hand on his. So what do we do now? Ethan thought for a moment, then looked up at me, and he said something I never expected. We end this. Carol had lied, manipulated, turned family against us, and even sent the police to our door. When that didn't work, she showed up at Ethan's office. It was clear she wouldn't stop unless we made her. So Ethan made a choice. He called a family meeting. It was time to put an end to it. Ethan sent a message to the family group chat. We need to talk. No more rumors. This ends now. Meet at our house this Saturday. Carol saw it. She didn't respond, but I knew she would show up. She wouldn't miss a chance to make herself look better. By Saturday, the tension was thick in our house. Ethan barely said anything that morning. I could see it on his face. He was dreading this. But under that, I saw something else. Determination. He was done being controlled. At exactly 3 p.m., everyone arrived. Carol, Greg, Ryan, a few cousins, aunts, and uncles. Carol walked in last, like she owned the place. Her eyes scanned the room, her lips tight in a little smile. She looked confident, like she thought she could still win. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Nobody sat down. The room was too tense. Ethan stood in the middle with his arms crossed. Carol sighed dramatically. Ethan, honey, is this really necessary? This family has been through enough. Ethan's jaw clenched. Yeah, Mom, it is. She put a hand to her chest. I just want to fix things. I've been sick with worry. I haven't eaten. I haven't slept. Ethan cut her off. Then why did you send the police to our house? The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Carol. She blinked, acting surprised. What? Police? Ethan, I would never. Stop lying. Ethan's voice was sharp. Carol flinched. For the first time, she looked nervous. Greg shifted uncomfortably. Ryan cleared his throat and avoided eye contact. But Ethan wasn't done. I didn't want to do this, he said, pulling out his phone. But you forced my hand. He pressed play. Carol's voicemail filled the room. I hope you're happy, Ethan. You broke your mother's heart. I don't even know if I'll be here next Christmas. I hope you can live with yourself. The room was dead silent. Then Ethan looked up and his words hit like a hammer. This is emotional abuse. Carol's mouth dropped open. She looked around at everyone, searching for support, but no one said anything. Even Ryan was silent. I've spent my whole life trying to make you happy, Ethan said, his voice shaking. But it's never enough, is it? You always need more. More control, more attention, more power over me. And when you lose even a little bit, you lash out. You spread lies. You attack my wife. You turn my family against me. Carol shook her head quickly. That's not true. That's not true. Ethan, honey. You're confused? Ethan took a step closer. You told my wife I'd divorce her before we were even married. A few gasps. Carol's face turned red. I didn't mean. You went through our bedroom. You insulted my wife. You lied to this entire family about what happened. Ethan turned to Greg. Dad, you've been quiet. Do you want to defend her? Greg shifted, uncomfortable. I mean, your mother only meant well. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. Of course she did. Then he turned to the group. This is the truth. You've all seen it now. You can either believe it, or keep pretending. But either way, he looked Carol in the eyes. We're done. Carol's face twisted with rage. You can't just. We can, and we are. Ryan stepped forward. Ethan, man, come on. She's still our mom. Ethan exhaled, shaking his head. No, Ryan, she's your mom. She's my abuser. And just like that, it was over. Carol broke down. Her whole body shook. You can't do this to me. I am your mother. Ethan didn't even flinch, then act like one. He turned to the door. Get out. Carol hesitated. For a second, I saw something in her eyes, not sadness. Fear. She knew she had lost. She let out a shaky breath, then turned and walked out. Greg followed. Then Ryan. Then the others. No goodbyes. No apologies. Just silence. When the door finally shut, Ethan let out a long, slow breath. His shoulders slumped. His hands trembled. I reached for him. He let me, and for the first time in years, he was free. Carol didn't stop trying. For weeks, she sent messages, begging, pleading, threatening. Ethan never answered. When Christmas came, she sent a long, dramatic email. I never thought my own son would abandon me on the holidays. I hope your new family is worth it. Ethan read it. Then, without a word, he deleted it. We spent Christmas alone for the first time. There was no pressure, no guilt. No walking on eggshells. We made hot cocoa. We watched old movies. We laughed. And for the first time in years, the holidays felt like ours. Not Carol's. Not Greg's. Ours. And that was the best revenge of all.